Okay, so we're going to take a look at placing a connection at this intersection. So if you're looking here, I have one beam over top of another with a bit of a space, and maybe I want to connect them together. We have an option for that in the Greatech PowerPack connection bolt. Here we can come in to that second area, and when we come into here, you'll see connection at intersection. Left click on this. You'll see it asks you to pick the main member. Select it. There's no need to right click or enter. It automatically goes to prompting you for the secondary member. Pick that, and a connection gets built based on whatever the values are in this dialog. At this point here, you'll see some plates have been placed in and some bolts have been placed in, and we'll go through and we'll take a look at cleaning that up. So in here, we're going to create a spacer plate. Now you can do that automatically, manually, but here we're going to say automatic. We'll keep them all the same. I'm going to change the thickness. Let me just, because it's a rather large space, and I did that for a reason, I'll put it to 7/8. You'll notice that the plate thickness has changed. Okay, so it keeps it 7/8, 7/8, 7/8, 7/8, but when it gets to that last one, whatever the remaining value is that completes that space, that will be the thickness of the last plate. So if you're putting plates underneath, that's one way to do it. But you can set the maximum thickness in here to whatever it is that you want. If you want it to be 3/8, you can come in, type that in, and you can see you're going to get those plates come in. Your geometric properties, how are they fit in here? So you have different options. I can say value, fit, projections. Now fit and projections by default, it takes the values that were there. So if I do projections, value per bolt, that will change it a bit. It'll look at your bolts and shrink the plate so that the bolts come in and extend. So you can see that's taking place. By value gives you whatever it is last. So if I shrunk it, you can see that's what it is last. If I go back to projections or fit, it gives me the between the two pieces, what are the distances, right? And then the bolts are pushed back down. Okay? So it has the ability to come in and adjust according to whatever you're looking at. You can type in a value too if you want, and create those plates at whatever size you need. Okay? So that's fit. You can do a knife shim as well. So if I click on knife shim, you can see you're going to get that cut right down the middle here. And that will give you the cut between the plate on either side. So if that's something that you need in here, if you want to put that in here as you're doing it, it'll create that knife shim for you, and you can say what that offset's going to be. Now, sometimes maybe the distance gets too large and you don't want to have plates in here. You can use a shear profile instead. Then just come in, pick whatever profile you think will fit best, and you'll see it places it in that area going across in line with the secondary beam across the primary one. Places that in. You can then adjust to whatever size. Again, you can say what the length is, the fit, the value, projections. If you need to or you want to, you can rotate. You have that option here to rotate it to go the other way. So it's not forced to go that way. You can do a web offset, flange offset, and add spacer plates in here if you need to on top of that. For connections, you can say I want this to be bolted or welded. You can see this is the main element and secondary element. So if you don't want the bolts, you can adjust it and say you want it to be welded. Place it in with that. You also have the option for stiffeners. Now you can put the stiffeners on the main element. You can put it on the secondary element. You can even put it on the shear profile if need be. You'll see it gets a stiffener as well. That's completely your choice, and you have the option to control the plate thickness, the quantity, and the offset plate to beam. Under bolts, you can come in, determine your bolt sizes, adjust them wherever you want, the type of bolt, how is it connecting, and you can see here the bolts connecting, bolt location is site or workshop. You have also slotted. So if you want the connection elements to be slotted, or the main part, or the secondary part, or all of them, you have that option. And you can invert your bolts. The layout itself, you can say what that center distance is going to be. So just come in and type that value. Once that's in, you'll see the bolts will adjust accordingly. You can offset from center a certain distance if you need to, one way or the other. You can say which group you're working on. So if you want, you can adjust your bolts that way. The lines, you have two in one way, one in the other way. Intermediate distance in between. You'll see it brings them closer together, and offset that as well, left or right. As for your welds, if it's welded instead of bolted, you have all the options in here to control the welds for each of the stiffener elements on the main, secondary, or shear profile, and how the shear profile itself will connect to the beams if it's welded. You have that control also. And that is the connection at intersection option.